Hey, welcome! We're about to jump into a really strange, but incredibly profound story from some ancient texts. It's all about a man who, get this, decided to live his entire life as a dog. Now, it sounds wild, I know, but his journey actually reveals something amazing about the very nature of reality and our own power to shape it.
I mean, seriously, could it? It's a bizarre question, right? But this mystery is the absolute heart of our story. And it leads to one of the most powerful teachings you'll ever hear on how our minds and our actions literally build the world we experience around us.
So let's set the scene. We're in ancient India, and two men walk up to the Buddha. Their names are Puna and Seniya. And they're ascetics, meaning they're engaged in some, well, pretty out-there practices that they believe are the path to spiritual freedom.
And when I say extreme, I mean these guys were all in. Puna, who's following the cow vow, is literally wearing horns and a tail and grazing on grass. But the guy we're focused on is Seniya. He doesn't just act like a dog, he eats his food off the ground. He moves around on all fours and he sleeps curled up. He has completely 100% embodied this dog identity.
So it's Puna the cowman who asks the question that just sets this whole story in motion. He sees how dedicated Seniya is, and he asks the Buddha a really simple, direct question. After all this work, what happens to this guy? Where's he going?
And this is where things get really intense. The Buddha hesitates. He actually asks Puna 3 separate times to just drop the question, warning him that the answer is going to be upsetting. But Puna keeps insisting. And so, the Buddha reveals a truth that is frankly devastating. And there it is. The Buddha's answer is blunt. If Seniya totally masters this dog vow, he'll be reborn as a dog. And if he doesn't quite get it right, well, the outcome is even worse. He'll end up in hell.
So let's pause on that for a second. There are only 2 possible futures here, and neither of them leads to some divine, heavenly world. The best case scenario is literally becoming the animal he's been imitating. The worst case is just unimaginable suffering.
And Seniya's reaction? It's immediate. He just breaks. He starts weeping right then and there, not because he's insulted, but because he suddenly understood something terrifyingly profound about the path he dedicated his entire life to. So the question is, what did he suddenly get? To understand that, we need to dig a little deeper.
Okay, to really get why this answer hit him so hard, we need to do a bit of linguistic detective work. The clue is in a single Pali word the Buddha used to describe Seniya's whole situation, miccā-ditthi.
Now, if you just pull out a dictionary, you're going to get a pretty simple translation. Wrong view or wrong belief. And, that makes sense. His belief that acting like a dog gets you to heaven seems, well, wrong. But that simple translation totally misses the incredible depth of what's really being said here.
You see, through a deeper way of understanding language called niriti, which looks at the very roots of words, miccā-dristi means something way more powerful. It's not just a wrong opinion. It's a distorted seeing. Imagine you're looking at the world through a pair of glasses that are completely warped and twisted. Everything you see is misshapen. That right there was Seniya's real problem.
And this is the absolute core of it. The problem wasn't the barking or eating off the floor. Those were just symptoms. The real danger, the distorted seeing, was the flawed equation in his mind that said dog actions equal a divine reward. He had fundamentally misunderstood the basic laws of cause and effect in the universe.
So after this huge revelation, both men realize their paths are completely flawed. They ask the Buddha, okay, so what is the true way? And in response, he doesn't just give them a new rule to follow. He gives them a map of reality itself, explaining that the world we live in is created by 4 different kinds of action, or karma.
Think of these 4 actions less like good or bad and more like 4 different ways of painting your reality into being. It's like you have 4 kinds of paintbrushes, 4 kinds of paint, and each one creates a very, very different kind of world to live in.
The first 3 are pretty intuitive, right? Dark actions, stuff driven by anger or cruelty, create a dark, painful world. Bright actions, driven by kindness, by generosity, create a bright, happy world. And then there are mixed actions, which is, let's be honest, most of our lives, a little of both. And that creates a mixed world of pleasure and pain.
But this is where the teaching takes a radical turn. The first 3 actions are all about trying to create a better experience inside the system. But the Buddha points to a 4th option, one that goes beyond the entire game of creating worlds, whether they're dark or bright.
This 4th action is neither dark nor bright. It is the action that leads to the end of all action.
It is the pure intention to let go of the whole creative process. It's not about painting a masterpiece of a happy life. It's about making the choice to put the paintbrush down entirely and find freedom from the whole cycle.
So, armed with this profound, new understanding of reality, Seniya and Puna are just completely transformed. Those old paths they had followed for so long now just seemed totally meaningless.
Both of them immediately abandon their animal vows, of course. Puna, the cow practitioner, decides to become a dedicated lay follower, finding a solid path for himself. But Seniya, the man who was so shattered just moments before, is so inspired that he has to become a monk right on the spot. He dedicates his life to that fourth path. And, amazingly, he actually succeeds. He becomes fully enlightened.
And this is his declaration of that ultimate freedom. You see, he didn't just trade his dog life for a better human life. He stepped outside the entire game of birth and death. He put down the paintbrush for good.
So what does this ancient story about a man living like a dog have to do with us, right here, right now? Well, it's obviously not about avoiding animal vows. It's about recognizing the incredible creative power that every single one of us has every single moment of the day.
The lessons here are just huge. First, every single thing you do with your body, your speech, your mind is a creative act that is building your reality. Second, your intention is the blueprint. It's the clear or distorted seeing that decides what gets built. And finally, the most powerful choice isn't just to create a better world, but to choose the intention to be totally free.
Look, this is the ultimate takeaway. So often we feel like we're just passengers in our own lives, reacting to things that happen to us. But this story reveals a radical truth. We are the artists. We are the ones painting our reality into existence, moment by moment, with the brushstrokes of our intentions.
And that leaves all of us with a final, really personal question. If your intentions are the blueprint and your actions are the paint, just take a second to look around at the world you're currently living in. What does it look like? And what are you going to choose to create next?